Should you be focusing all of your time on Instagram? Or maybe TikTok's the way to go? Or maybe Pinterest, YouTube? Are people still using X? If you've ever asked yourself any of those questions, don't fret, because in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about which social media channels you should be focusing all of your time and energy on this year and beyond. By the way, this video is brought to you by ClickUp, more on them later. When it comes to the conversation around which social media channel you should be focusing on as a business owner, as a content creator, I feel like there are a few different things that have to be considered. We're gonna call these things conundrums because they are conundrums, and I just really like that word. Isn't it a great word, conundrum? So the first conundrum that we are going to be solving is whether you should be on one social media channel or multiple social media channels. Because realistically, this is the first question you need to ask yourself before you can move on to figuring out which channels you should actually be on. I'm gonna make this decision as clear as possible for you. And I'm gonna do that by explaining a certain criteria that you need to meet in order for you to decide that you need to be on multiple social media channels. Because let me tell you, being across multiple social media channels is no joke.
It's not easy.
And that is coming from someone who is across multiple social media channels, who has people who help them manage their channels and still finds it quite stressful. So here's the criteria, and I would like you to meet at least one part of this criteria, or maybe all of it, in order for you to decide to be across multiple social media channels. The first thing is that you feel super comfortable with the social channels that you are currently on. The way I like to think about this is you have to be in a situation where the social channel or social channels that you're currently on feel easy. So if you are currently only on TikTok, does your TikTok channel feel easy to manage at the moment? Are you finding it pretty straightforward to create content? You're growing. It doesn't have to be at a huge pace, but you are organically growing. You're finding the content production fairly easy. You're coming up with ideas all the time. Like, does the process feel easy to you? If it does, then you might be ready to move on and diversify your social media channels. That brings me on to the next point of this criteria, which is your workflow. Have you established a good content workflow for the social channels that you're currently on? If we take my social channels, for example, I'm primarily on YouTube and Instagram. I have other channels, but the two ones that I run the most consistently at the moment is YouTube and Instagram. Now, when I say Instagram, I'm actually referring to two separate Instagram channels that I currently run. I have my personal brand, and then I also have my business, The Creator Project, and that has its own Instagram page. So at the moment, I've got a really good workflow for all of my channels. I have 2 content creation days per week. One is for YouTube, the other one is for short form content. I have someone on my team who manages all my content for The Creator Project's Instagram page. I have a video editor who knows my style, understands my deadlines, and edits all of my long form content. So I very much have a good workflow at the moment, which means that I could potentially be someone who could be ready to diversify my channels. Next point, do you have a bit of spare time on your hands? If so, you lucky thing. Are you someone who's like, do you know what? I got a few hours spare per week, right? Be honest with yourself. Do you have the time? Because starting a new social media channel does require significantly more time. And last but not least, are you someone who currently creates long form content on a weekly basis? Let me explain. If you are someone who writes a weekly blog, or has a weekly podcast, or has a weekly long form YouTube video like the one that you're watching right now, you could be in a good position to diversify your social media presence, because when you have a long form piece of content that you create on a weekly basis, your ability to create new pieces of content for a new social media channel is actually a lot greater than your average person's. And the reason for this is because long form content can easily be repurposed into different content formats. Whether it's carousels, reels, TikToks, whatever it is, you can repurpose your long form content into a shorter piece of content. I have a video where I actually show you how I do this using an AI tool, which I'll link to up here, just in case you want further information. So if you answered yes to one or more of those points, then you may be in a position to diversify your social media channels. Congratulations. However, if you did not relate to at least one of those points, then I don't think diversifying your social media channels is the right thing to do at the minute. Here's why. Burnout is real. And let me tell you, if you overdo it, burnout will be knocking on your door. Having multiple social media channels and trying to remain consistent across all of them when you're not coming from a place of already feeling comfortable with the channels that you're on is probably going to lead to some form of burnout, and we don't want that. In addition to this, you will likely be spreading yourself too thin. There's a phrase, and it's lost me at the minute. I don't know what it is, but it's something along the lines of like, if you try to be good at everything, you're not good at anything. Does anyone know the phrase that I'm thinking of? Can you comment it below? Because I can't remember what it is. But it's basically saying like, if you spread yourself too thin across multiple social media channels and you're actually not giving each of those channels the attention that it deserves and needs, none of them will thrive. So you'll end up thinking, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to be on multiple social media channels and it's going to allow me to have a greater chance of blowing up and hitting the algorithm and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to change my life. When actually what might end up happening is that you're less likely for any of your content to perform well because none of the channels are getting the attention that it deserves. So what you want to do instead is focus on getting to a good place with the current channel that you're on. Understand how that algorithm works, get a good content workflow in place so you feel like you are creating content with ease, and get to a place where it doesn't feel stressful. All right, so this brings me on to conundrum number 2, which is about organizing yourself as a creator. This is going to be relevant to you if you've gone through conundrum 1 and you've decided, you know what, I'm ready to diversify my channel. I'm going to start creating more content across multiple social media channels. This is also going to be relevant to you if you decided, you know what, I'm not ready to diversify my channels yet. And the reason why is because you don't have a good workflow. Now, it is essential as a creator and as a business owner that we have a good system in place to keep us organized and to keep us consistent. In previous videos, I've shown you a bit of the behind the scenes of how I run my business as a creator, and I've shown you how I use a tool called Asana to map out my content and plan way into the future. One of the main pieces of feedback I got from you guys though was that you wanted a cheaper alternative to Asana. I hear you. So today we're going to talk about the sponsor of this video, ClickUp, and how you can use their tool to remain organized and create a good workflow. So if you're not familiar with ClickUp already, it's the ultimate productivity tool. It's basically one app which can replace all of your other reminder and to-do list apps. When you use ClickUp, you can create folders for all of your projects, drag and drop checklist boards, collaborate with partners, set reoccurring reminders, you can track your time across various tasks, you can manage calendars, and basically leverage an entire suite of productivity tools created by experts. I'm going to show you an example of how you can use ClickUp to organize your content and diversify your channels. So let's log into my ClickUp. I've got my laptop here. So when you log in, you'll see this dashboard, which you can actually customize, but it basically is going to show you a summary of the work that you've got on, your agenda, any task that's been assigned to you, etc. Now, what I recommend you do when you sign up for ClickUp, which by the way, you can sign up completely for free, I recommend you head to the team space area and you create your own project. Now, I've called this one social media content calendar, and you can see on the left, I've created a few different categories, one for Instagram, one for TikTok, one for YouTube, just to show you how you can plan the different channels and have it all work together. So if we click on the Instagram one, for example, you can see here that I've put a few different examples of posts that you might want to put on your content calendar. Now, one of my favorite ways of viewing tasks using ClickUp, and your preference will depend on who you are, but I'm like a visual person, is using the calendar tab. So when you use the calendar tab, you're able to map out the different content that you would like to post on that channel and drag it around based on the day that you want it to go live. So for example, I've said that I want to do a get to know me post there, a story of the week on the Thursday, outfits I wore this week, promotion of a new product, etc. And you can drag and drop it around depending on when you want it to go live. You can also just press this little plus button here to create a new task quickly, and this will allow you to quickly plan out another piece of content that you want to create. Now, there are other ways for you to view your tasks. Some of my other favorites include just the simple list format. When we click here, you can clearly see all of the different pieces of content that I want to post, and I've even created some custom tags so that you can see the type of content it is. So here I've marked that this would be a carousel, this would be a reel, and this would be a story. Another way that you can view your tasks, and one that I feel like you guys are going to love, is by looking at the board tab. This will allow you to actually rearrange your tasks based on the status of that piece of content. So yes, it's great for you to be able to plan all of your content and map it out on a calendar so you know when it's supposed to go live, but it's also important that you understand whether or not you've created that post yet and if it's ready to go live. So that's what you want to use this board for. Here you can see on the left, these are the different posts that I haven't quite done yet. Once I've started working on one, I would just drag and drop it to the in progress section. And then once it's finished, I would drag and drop it under complete. Now, if you've decided just to be on one social media channel for the time being, then this one project will be enough. But as I mentioned, you can create separate ones for all the different channels that you're on. What you can then do if you are across multiple channels is click on the main space, which is what they call it. You can click on calendar and you can actually see all of the content that you've planned across all of your different channels in one calendar. This is super useful because it will allow you to clearly see what content you're sharing across different channels at different times. So especially if you're a business or a brand and you want to make sure that the messaging you're sharing works across all the different channels you're on, ClickUp will allow you to have this holistic view of all of the content you're sharing across all of your social media channels. So you can get started with planning your content, becoming more productive, and being more organized with ClickUp today for free. So head to the link in my description to get started. All right, so we've spoken about how you can stay organized either on one social media channel or by diversifying your social media channels. Let's now cover the third conundrum, which is which social media channels should you be focusing on? Now, there are a few different things that you want to consider when it comes to which social media channels you want to be focusing on. The first thing to consider is you. What is your preference? Are you naturally gravitating towards one social media channel over another? Do you find yourself spending more time on TikTok than you do on Instagram? If so, TikTok might be the channel for you. Is there a certain format of content that you prefer to create? For example, are you someone who prefers to create photos? In which case, maybe Pinterest or Instagram is for you. Are you someone who prefers to create longer videos? In which case, YouTube might be for you. Are you someone who wants to create short verticals? In which case, pretty much any of the channels might be for you. The point is that you want to consider yourself first, because if you pick a channel that you naturally enjoy creating content for, you will find it easier to consistently create high quality content. The next thing you want to consider is your objective. So what is the reason for you being on social media? Like, what's the purpose? Are you trying to build a community? Are you trying to raise awareness for something? Are you trying to build a personal brand so that you can work with other brands? Are you trying to sell a product or a service? Like, what's the objective here? I want you to consider what your objective is, because different social media channels will help you achieve different things. Let me explain. Instagram, at the time of filming, is a great channel for community building. I say at the time of filming because my God, does Instagram change a lot. But at the moment, it's a great community building platform, and also it's a good platform for conversions, so for selling products. The reason why is because Instagram has a lot of engagement heavy features, like your stories, your polls, your stickers, all that kind of stuff. That's all focused on engaging with your audience, which can be really great for community building. Also, the reason why it's good with sales is because you can do things like integrate your store. If you sell a product, you can link to different products on your stories. So it's quite good at achieving those two objectives. So community building and sales or conversions. On the other hand, you have platforms like TikTok, which are amazing at getting you reach and awareness. The way the algorithm works on TikTok is that it's actually designed to try and push you out to a lot of people. So if your objective at the moment is just to get awareness for your personal brand or your business brand, whatever it is, TikTok might be the platform for you. TikTok also has TikTok Shop, which is their shopping feature, which makes it easy for creators and brands to sell products and for your audience to seamlessly purchase those products. So again, TikTok could be a great one if you are using social media to try and sell something. Then you have YouTube. YouTube is a channel that is amazing for people who want to build credibility and authority. The reason why is because building an audience on YouTube is generally seen as a little bit trickier, which means that there are often fewer creators or businesses who have a huge audience within your niche or category on YouTube. And that can often mean that it's easier for you to stand out and also easier for you to gain credibility. In addition to this, YouTube is amazing at helping you build deeper relationships with your audience. So again, it's a great community building platform, but the community connection is far deeper because on YouTube, you have the opportunity to speak with your audience for multiple minutes, for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, for an hour if you want to. And being able to retain someone's attention for that long usually means that you have a deeper connection with them. Pinterest is one that is great for reach and also great for credibility. It's like a search engine, so it can really help you reach a new audience. LinkedIn is, of course, the GOAT when it comes to business relationships, B2B content, and also gaining authority within your space. And then you've got X. X could be a great platform for positioning yourself as a thought leader. So have a think about your objective and think about which platform aligns best with your objective based on what I've just said. Of course, do not forget that the most important question you should be asking yourself is there a social media channel you're naturally gravitating towards? Because again, if you pick that channel, it will be easier for you to remain consistent on it. Okay, guys, that is my comprehensive guide of figuring out what social media channels you should be on and how many channels you should be on, and also staying organized whilst you're on these social media channels. So I really have covered a few bases here. Do not forget that you can get started with ClickUp for free using the link in my description. If you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. How do I still not know what side to point? My God, it's on the screen and it's all about niching. Okay, so if you've ever thought, what niche should I be in? Should I have a niche? Do I need a niche? That video's for you. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I can't wait to see you in my next video.